Roots of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Root of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E. Now, of course, the usual reminder, if you are a regular, you know this by now, that I'll remind you that if you want to start your own podcast, using Buzzsprout as your podcast host is one of the easiest ways that you can get started. You can click on the link in the show notes and it will make it so much easier for you. Now, let's get into today's episode. My guest is Mark Chingumbe from Zambia. In this episode, we learned that as most African students, he also wanted to pursue a medical career. That did not come to pass, and instead he went into the field of agriculture sciences. He pursued a BSc at the University of Zambia, and his research was on evaluating sweet sorghum genotypes for high grain yield and Brix content. Now, for some people who might not know what that is, Mark will tell us more about this work and also the importance. Further, we discuss the public perceptions of using sorghum as an alternative to maize. We hear Mark's opinion on the need of support by governments to young people who want to pursue an academic career in the field of agriculture. Lastly, we discuss some of his future aspirations to further his studies, as well as the other plans. And this might involve in me calling him Your Excellency 20 years from now. Now, to find out about all of this and so much more, let's take a listen. Hi, Mark. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Anne. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. I'm so excited to have you onto the show and for everybody to get to know more about you and everything that you do. So for the purpose of us just diving right in, can you give us a brief introduction about yourself? So, where you're from, what are you currently doing, your name, your surname?
Okay, so I'm Mark Chingumbe. I'm from Livingstone, Zambia, currently based in Lusaka. I have a bachelor's degree in agricultural sciences. I majored in plant sciences. And right now I'm just doing some projects with a Portuguese company called excellency. And we'll see where things go from there.
Fantastic, Mark. Well, we're going to get into all of the things that you do. But for people to get to know you, obviously, away from the science, you mentioned that you love art, so I just want you to tell us, what type of art are you into?
Okay. Type of art I like. One, music. Music and photography. I'm into photography. Yeah, I like to take photos. I take a lot of photos with my phone even. For the music part, I remember once I even tried being a musician. Didn't work out so well, but yeah, I love music.
What type of music were you going to go into?
I was actually I didn't have a good voice. I couldn't sing, but I like rap. So I was going to go into hip hop. I did a few songs, but it didn't work out quite well. So, but I still have.
Oh, that's cool. So you got some bars in you, hey?
I used to have some bars.
Oh, that's really, really cool. That's pretty exciting. And, you said that you also like to take photography. So is this like a hobby, or is this something that you like to do, maybe possibly venture into something like professional or something?
Well, not really. I think it's just a hobby for now because I don't know. There's just something about pictures, Say pictures worth 1,000 words. I like to keep my memories like that. So I take a lot of photos. I have taken some professional photos though, or I was the model in this case. And it was fun. It was really fun, and I look forward to doing it again.
Fantastic. So now just to bring back into the science, and you mentioned that you are in agriculture, in the agriculture field. But before all of that happened, did you always know that this field of science is something that you want to do? What were some of the influences that actually got you into this field?
Okay. I didn't. At first, I never even thought about being in agricultural sciences. I actually wanted to be a medical doctor, like most Zambian kids. And so, our first year at school, University of Zambia, I didn't make it into medical school. It was very competitive that year. It was like the best year they ever had. So yeah, I didn't make it, and then I had other options. I could do pharmacy, I could do biomed, anything else apart from human biology. And for me, I was a non-starter. I wasn't interested in any other thing. I think it must have been, I was home that day, and then I was reading my high school book. I think I was in 11th grade. There was an essay that we had to write, and they were asking us things that we wanted to do. Apparently, I had put medicine and agriculture sciences as my two options. I was like, wait a minute.
Oh.
I thought about agri then. And then I researched some more. Turns out my parents actually did agriculture sciences, both of them. So I was like, you know what? Let me just go into this field and give it a try. And I haven't looked back ever since.
Mark, young Mark from grade 11 knew that this is something that you wanted to do into agriculture, and your parents. So your parents were like an underlying influence, if you can put it like that, without you really knowing.
Yeah, they were, because my mom died in childbirth. She was giving birth to me. Yes, I never met her.
Yeah.
I also never met my dad. I just heard about them. So I think writing that essay in grade 11 must have taken me back to, how I wish things would be, and maybe that would make them happy. Yeah, so when I read that, I was like, I must have given it a thought. So let me just dive into it. And turns out it was one of the best decisions I ever made.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. I didn't expect that story to turn there, but do you think, if you don't mind me asking, do you think your parents are pleased in your choice, be it your mom, of course, that she's no longer with you, or your dad? Do you think wherever they are pleased in terms of where you are?
Yeah, I like to think so, because ever since I picked agricultural sciences, I have traveled the world even. So my dad traveled a lot. So I got some pics of him. He was in the UK, he was in the Netherlands, he went to Sierra Leone. So yeah, I think wherever they are, and seeing that I was their last child and I took up this profession, I think they are happy wherever they are.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. Thank you for sharing. So you decided, okay, agricultural sciences. Did you do it again at the University of Zambia?
Yes, I did it again.
Oh, okay, fantastic. So speaking about your degree, your research was focused on evaluating sweet sorghum genotypes for high grain yield and Brix content. So can you please tell us more about this research, especially for people who don't know what Brix content is, and also just why is it so important?
Okay, so to begin with, okay, let me just start with the Brix content. The Brix content is simply the sugar levels in the sweet sorghum genotypes. And then that sugar can be used to make, you can make energy out of it. You can also do a bunch of things with it, But I was really interested in that research because sorghum, in Zambia and most other sub-Saharan countries, we have high temperatures here, and the rainfall patterns are getting weird. We are receiving less rainfall. And so, since we rely a lot on maize, and maize is not doing fine under those conditions, sorghum seems to be a better alternative, because we can do anything that we do with maize with sorghum. And sorghum survives the environment. So I think it's high time that we started working in that direction. So I was looking at genotypes that would have a high grain yield to compensate for the uses that we use maize for, that is making shima. I think you guys also have shima in Malawi, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so I was looking at that, but at the same time also trying to negotiate electricity. People make electricity from sweet sorghum, like the way they do sugarcane, for instance.
Yeah.
Sugarcane also has a lot of demand in terms of water, and sweet sorghum would actually. There are some genotypes that have the same amount of sugar that sugarcane has, and so if we could find those genotypes, we would use them in place of sugarcane and also in place of maize. So that's one crop with multi-purpose. That was why I was interested in my research.
That is very interesting research, that it's got so many alternative uses, and it can be the alternative for maize. And with that being said, being an agriculturalist myself, we come up with all these suggestions for these local communities and farmers, like different genotypes or varieties as an alternative to, for example, you're saying to maize. So now the issue always comes down to the public acceptance, or rather the perception in this new crop that you're introducing as an alternative, right? So in the work that you guys have done, maize has been something that people know, like you said, for Nsima, pap rather, and all these other uses. Do you think the farmers and the general public as a whole are ready to accept this new alternative, that being sorghum?
Okay, so we have some provinces that are already growing sweet sorghum extensively. That's like, I think in Southern Province, we have some areas, as well as Eastern Province. But generally, it's going to be a challenge because people are still used to maize, and you know how hard it is to convince these people to change. But I think time will come when maize will eventually fail, and then they'll have no other alternative but to actually embrace the new genotypes that we're giving them. So I think at some point they'll realize that sweet sorghum or other alternatives are actually better than what they're currently using. So it's only a matter of time, and I think people are still working hard and trying to come up with these genotypes that will be high yielding, just to try and convince people to switch.
Yeah, the problem is that switch, because they come in and they're like, yeah, but we've been doing this for so many years.
Exactly.
Now you're telling us no, but it's that transition period that there's so many things in terms of the climate and, the soils. Things are changing. It's not always the same thing. So that's why the work of agricultural scientists like yourself and bringing in all these alternatives are so important. So, with that being said, we've seen that the agriculture sector is so important, especially now, during this pandemic, right? The global pandemic, when the lockdown happened, so many sectors, so many businesses, so many schools, but the agriculture sector was one that obviously had to stay open because people still needed to get fed. So in your view, do you think researchers get enough support, by government institutions, for example, for young people wanting to pursue the field like you have? Do you think there's enough support? You can talk about this in your country, in Zambia specifically. You don't have to generalize overall.
Okay. Well, research, I think most African countries are a bit poor and a bit lagging behind when it comes to research and development. And I should say that from my experience, there is some research that is being carried out, but I don't think it's enough. And most of the extensive research that is being carried out in our country, I think, is from foreigners. Foreigners are actually doing more research in our countries than we are on our own. And at the end of the day, they come up with these, genotypes and whatnot, but from our environment, and then they end up selling them to us. And so research is being done, but by our government, not so much. That is my opinion, I think, concerning the issue.
Definitely. And speaking about foreigners, you mentioned that you're working for a company from Portugal.
Yes.
Would you mind explaining what you're doing there and, giving us some more insight while we are on that topic?
Okay. So this company is called Excellency. And right now they are doing a lot of projects with our government. I'm actually on 2 projects. So the first one was for farming and environmental climates and whatnot. So that one hasn't yet started, but the one that we're doing is not connected to agriculture. It's only the next one that will start. It was supposed to start this year, but then because of, the global pandemic that we're having right now, that one had to wait a bit. So, I think it's not agriculture related, but it's more into tourism.
Okay. That's great. And Mark, you've taken like a different route. I remember when we were speaking off air, you're like, and, most of these people who you have are PhD people, but I like how your route is different. Would you want to pursue your studies further, or now that you are working in industry, which is for some of us, rather, let me speak for myself. The decision to continue studying wasn't, sometimes you end up here, not necessarily because you took that conscious decision to be here, but because of circumstances and lack of availability of like employment. So you're like, let me just continue studying. And I know with some people, they're like, oh my word, you really like to study, hey? And I'm like, no, I would love to work and earn money.
Everyone wants to work.
But circumstances have led us to continue our path. So your path is actually different. So how did that go on how did that happen where you decided to take that shift?
Okay, so I told myself that after school, that's after my undergraduate, I was either going to work or continue with school. And then if I continued with school, I was thinking it had to be something related to, I was more interested in horticulture and pathology.
Oh, okay.
Any of these 2 I would do. But if I found the right job and well-paying, of course, I would actually go and work.
Of course.
At this point, I have learned enough to actually run an agricultural business, which was the main aim for me. Going into agriculture, I wanted to come up with a firm, like a farm or any business that is agriculture related, and that would obviously help me make money. So I thought at undergraduate level, I had enough knowledge. I was well equipped to actually start up a business. So after I started working, when I got a job, I figured I'm not so much interested in going back to school to actually do horticulture or pathology. Right now, I'm actually more interested in going back to school and maybe pursuing a business course. Yeah, business degree. So I was thinking if I went back to school right now, I might do an MBA, or there's one that I actually applied for. It's a master's in finance. So I figured if I could combine my business course with what I already have in agricultural sciences, that would help me become a better businessman in agri, because at the end of the day, it has to be a business and the business has to make money. So that's where I stand right now.
All right. That's great. I like that. I like that. It is, you are right that you have to understand the business aspect of it. And sometimes, just studying, we just learn too much of the theory and we don't really understand the practical sense of it. But it's really great that you were able to, you are trying to balance the two. And I think there's a beauty in that there's nothing wrong with either of the journeys. It's just that you had your vision, and I like that you're sticking through with that vision.
I feel like I'm betraying agriculture, You're like, oh, maybe now just going to go into the business world. Before you know it, you'll be doing managerial stuff and you forget about the agri. But the truth is, I actually love agri. And wherever I go, I think I have to own a garden, I have to own land, do my planting. I can't forget about agri. At the end of the day, people have to eat.
Definitely. Yeah. It's definitely. I think if it's still in your heart, you'll find a way to incorporate it. I think you'll just find innovative ways to incorporate it, and to make money from it. I think, let's not run away from that. Like, everybody wants to make money. Everybody wants to make everybody wants to make money. And I mean, Africa has got so much potential, especially in terms of agriculture. Like you said, that we have other foreign organizations or other foreign countries who are investing in Africa, especially in the agriculture field. But we as Africans, we aren't. So it means somebody needs to exploit that as well. So clearly there's something here. So apart from the studying in terms of the business courses, what are your other future aspirations?
Well, I think this is going to take you by surprise, but when I was young, my mom, not my biological mom, but the woman that raised me, she used to call me her minister.
Okay.
And I've always held on to that. And at some point, even in uni, I've actually thought about being president. I want to be president of Zambia at some point, if God allows it. I think I'd like to go into that field.
So politics. I like to say it. Yeah, that's awesome. Wow. Okay, so we can take this in August 2020. So 20 years later from now, 2040, when you become president, I will claim that I did the first interview with you.
Exactly.
So I would be like, you know what, Mark, remember? Oh, no, I wouldn't be able to call you Mark. I'd be like, Your Excellency.
It would be Mr. President, His Excellency.
Yes. Your Excellency. If you remember, I did the first interview with you. That's so great. I think it's really good that you don't box yourself into things. You've allowed yourself to adapt into so many different fields, which is really, really fantastic.
I think you have to be you just don't have to be one-dimensional. You need to have a lot of places that you can touch in order to survive. At the end of the day, it's all about survival.
Yeah, that's great. And just lastly, I just wanted to ask you, what advice would you give to somebody who's listening now and is inspired by your story and some of the things that you've said? what advice would you give them, especially if they want to go into the field of agriculture or the other many other boxes that you've mentioned?
So basically, I think what I would tell somebody is just to continue working hard. At the end of the day, it's all about hard work, and opportunities will come. And when they do, make sure you take them. Work hard, stay humble. You never hurt anyone by being humble. And I think everyone likes associating with somebody who's humble. So just hard work, be committed, give it your all. And if you love what you do, you're going to work hard for it. So, yeah, I think that's what I would tell them.
Oh, that's some solid advice. And I hope somebody takes that and implements it, especially that humility part. Humility, yeah, will take you very far. So I definitely agree with that. And Mark, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. It was so lovely.
No, thank you for having me. It was very good to be here. At least I feel, I have something off my bucket list, I'm just
check. Too many more, Your Excellency. This is just the beginning. Too many more. And to everybody else who's listening, once again, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Root of the Science podcast with your girl and with an E. Until next time, goodbye.